the streets of Minneapolis, sounds bounce loud and clear. From George Floyd's last breath, sparked a fire full of fear. Protests got wild lines, got crossed in a mess. Now Renee Good's gone, in the dark no less. She jumped in wrong spot like Ashley Babbitt at the gate. Blocking the cops, why they fight with such hate. Shots are right but looks bad, big problem too. Blame wild crowds since Floyd and Trump's DHS crew. Fools should stay back from majors, don't know the whole deal. Like black people are shot by police, it's for real. She shouldn't be there, just more sad story here. Floyd the bad, bit the good, same old story told. Right shots in the chaos, but bad looks unfold. Don't touch the agents, keep your distance straight. Anger stuck since Floyd's day. Bad vibes, big mess show, and blame DHS Claim under Trump's wing. Christine Newman charged, waist kept left and right. No man lets a woman run on safety tight. Not tough enough, no backbone in the game. Hex, Ethel, Bong, you know it change up the same. And so does nuts, wildest place, last 10 years. Not by chance, it's planned, full of fears. Check my show index, red for the real deep talk. Break down protests and governments, take a walk. Self-defense is true, crowds gon' mad and wild. Let's go back quick, problems pile. No one step down now, quit the job today.
What is good? It's a crazy day today, crazy news day. We're back in Minnesota. It seems like every other day we're in Minnesota with something going on, and it's not an accident. It is not a coincidence that we are always in Minnesota, that we've talked about this over and over and over, and it's not going to stop anytime soon. There's something weird going on in Minnesota. There's something off. It is not statistically likely that so many national stories happen in the same state. More than California, more than New York. It's George Floyd one day. It's another Negro getting shot another day. It's today blocking allegedly ICE in the middle of the street, and then not obeying ICE and getting gat for no reason. And then we have the Somalis, and we got Tim Walz, and we got the state politicians getting unlived. It's absolutely insane what's happening in Minnesota. Somebody needs to get to the bottom of it, but I really think that they should be separated. I think every state should separate. There should be a breaking of the union in general, but just say we did have a real union today, Minnesota should be removed. This is a cancer on the country. This state is ridiculous, quite frankly. So now we have to talk about Minnesota again. This happened blocks away from where Floyd happened. What are the chances of this type of stuff? It's a snowball effect from, you can start with this whole ICE thing. I mean, you could really start with the sanctuary states, the sanctuary areas that's just completely unconstitutional. If you don't know, obviously, I mean, I'm assuming that most people know, a young lady tragically got unlived today by ICE. I guess you would call it an ICE officer. A young lady, 37 years old. Tragic. 37 years old, gets offed by ICE. Renee Nicole Good. Bullet hole in the windshield and everything. And there's another video as well that we're just casually watching online. I'm sure that's healthy for all of us, including me. I've watched a tiger. I think it was real. This was before the AI stuff started popping off like it is now. I think it was a real video. No, a lion. Some dude put his arm in the cage of a lion. And I woke up one morning and just opened up the phone on Twitter and casually drinking my coffee, saw a lion snacking on somebody's arm like it was a Twizzler. And I'm just drinking my coffee and eating my cereal. And I'm like, it's just faces of death every day. The new one the new Faces of Death just dropped today, everybody. And today's contestant is Renee Good. What happened today was not good. It was, in my layman, humble, just as a person watching it, no legal talk, because I'm not knowledgeable enough at this point to say anything legally. I had no, the shooting is problematic, but it does not seem like to me a shooting where the officer should be indicted for anything. It seems avoidable. It's bad optics. It's disastrous. It's the symptom of a larger problem stemming all the way down from Trump, and even before Trump. Obviously, these sanctuary areas are really, it was always going to lead to this. And hopefully peace prevails. But the main story is earlier today, the young lady got shot and was killed by a federal ICE agent Wednesday morning. That's the story. So she got unlived. It unfolded around 9:40 a.m. I'm going to assume that's Central. I don't have the time on that. It's from KSTP. At East 34th Street and Portland Avenue in South Minneapolis. My old wasn't really my stomping ground. That part of the city was not a part of the city that I would roll through. That's not a nice part of the city. It's not the worst. It's definitely not a nice part of the city either, though. Just blocks from where George Floyd. They said George Floyd was killed. Where I would say George Floyd died. I don't know what happened with Floyd. City officials say Good was not the subject of any ICE arrest. She was a legal observer. This is from the city, helping neighbors and a U.S. citizen not wanted for any crime. She was helping neighbors. They were doing protests around that time. I'm not saying anything definitive. I wasn't there. I'd seen a video. But they were doing protests around that time. And for her to be kind of shown in the light of just helping neighbors, that's how we get here with this type of nonsense. She's just there helping neighbors, which I don't believe. I don't know for sure, but I'm not buying that. So ICE is doing these operations. Had dozens of federal agents in the area conducting what they called, I quote, targeted immigration enforcement, basically a raid, as part of Trump's crackdown involving 2,000 DHS personnel in the Twin Cities. This is federalism. Federal government stepping into the states not having to help, tensions rising, things kind of getting out of control. Trump is trying to ramp up his deportation efforts. With over the last couple months, I believe we've seen them ramp up. He has not been impressive to this point. He has not been thoughtful about it to this point. He did not set a good precedent to this point. Last year, we had the riots in the Pacific Northwest and the West Coast, and things got out of hand. And many of us at the time said, they can't get out of hand. Whether I agree with Trump or not, I'm out on the mass deportation stuff. There's different people I would like to deport. Let's just say that. Remigrate elsewhere. But that's the reality is we still have a federal government. The reality is we still have ICE. The reality is if they knock on my door right now, it's, yes, sir, what do I need to do? It's not a protest. If they knock on a neighbor's door, I got a ton of Mexicans that live by me. I'm not trying to rat anybody out, just say hypothetically. And I mean that seriously. I'm not trying to get ICE involved with anybody. They know they're here. If they knock on the door, it is not my place to drive my car and be in the way. And if say I'm not trying to do anything wrong, if one of the ICE agents rolls up to my door and says, "Get the F out," then open the door, I'm right here, and you can fight it in the courts. You know, the same thing that I tell the blacks when they're running away from the cops and then fire out the door of the window. There's so many of them, I forget all of their names. One was running from the cops, turned around with the gun, got turned into human Swiss cheese, and what am I supposed to do with that? It's a nigga I don't know. It was obviously stupid. Same thing, Floyd. Same thing, Babbitt. I have nothing against Babbitt. I have nothing against Floyd. I have nothing against Babbitt. Babbitt shouldn't have been there. It's unfortunate. It's tragic. But I'm not going to parse out any difference between these. Mistakes were made that showed that in that moment, you didn't understand the gravity of the moment, the seriousness of the moment. There are men with guns, young lady, or anyone else who's in that position. And regardless of who's technically right or wrong, you're gone. Either way. Exact same thing I tell the blacks. Same thing that happens here. What are your thoughts? Cyan, $5 super chat. What's up? She refused commands. An agent was in front of her. Her SUV is a lethal weapon. She moved towards him and he responded in kind. Case closed in my book. I'm not a legal expert, but that seems cut and dry to me personally. But this is problematic because it shows a larger issue here. If you go up the ladder, to who's in charge of DHS. So everything Cyan said, I am in 100% agreement with. I don't even think there should be charges against the bruh. That's how much I agree with Cyan. I don't even think there should be charges against the bruh. I think it's a man. I forget if it was a man or what, who the ICE officer was. It looked like it was a man. But it can be a just shooting and also something that could have been avoided. It could have been avoided in very similar in the Babbitt way, where was it necessary to shoot? No, I don't think it was necessary to shoot. And even though I don't think there should be charges pressed, same with the Chauvin. Chauvin and the cops there handled it horrifically. But were they in the wrong? That's a little bit different situation. But were they in the wrong? Nope. I don't see it. Saw the whole thing. Nope. I don't see anything there in the wrong. Same with this cop. I don't know what happened. It's hard to see. We actually have a pretty good quality video that was released. Looks to be real. I don't even know what videos you can trust or not anymore, but looks to be real. I can't see the face of the woman, so it's hard to see what it looked like. She wasn't this, what was her name? Renee Good. It looks like she wasn't, I don't know if she even saw the ICE agent in front of her. The car was blocking the road, and one of the ICE agents flanked her on her left on the driver's side and said something to the effect of, "Get the fuck out of the way," or "Get the fuck out of the car," which is important to parse out. I think he said, "Get the fuck out of the car." Very clearly, it looked like the window was down, if I remember correctly. And I don't know what happened from there. Obviously, she did not get out of the car. Obviously, she did not stop the car. It looks like it was icy. Looks like she was trying to slam on the gas and the tires were spinning. That's my impression. There is an ICE agent on the front of the car. I honestly don't know why. I don't know why there's an ICE agent. It looks like they were going to detain her, which they're finally going to do something. But I still don't understand, because now you put yourself in that position where you do. If you're an ICE agent, you don't want to have to shoot anyone. That goes without saying. You would hope not to get in that position. Now you're in this firestorm of you don't know what's going to happen. But you see that chain reaction, that domino effect of, to me, failures puts the ICE agents in a bad position. Obviously, was not handled well. He was off to the left of the car. I don't think he needed to shoot, but was he just in shooting? Absolutely. And it can be two things can be true. He can be just in shooting, and I can say Kristi Noem should resign. She's a disaster. It is buffoonery to have someone like that heading the homeland of your country. It's one of the most insane things we have ever seen in this country. To have this vacuous, plastic surgery looking, Blair White looking, inarticulate. She should go blonde. She is the walking embodiment of a dumb blonde. No, there is no one with respect for themselves who respects her in general, much less to lead the protection of the homeland. It's something that has to be explained as history, as time goes on. If we are to avoid this moment, just this bigger moment of this country, we have to go back and look at, how did Kristi Noem happen? How does that happen? You can't explain it. There are women. I obviously don't want any woman heading any department in politics in general, but much less the Homeland Department. Now, there are women who have a presence that you could see in that role more. I will say Hillary Clinton. Obviously, I'm not a Hillary Clinton fan. She's a hard ass. She's a badass. She will get people ready. She will have people prepared. She will run a show. She's a CEO type. She was Secretary of State. She's someone you don't want to mess with. That's a whole different. I still don't support Hillary Clinton as Department, the Homeland Security Secretary, but that would be different than a Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem is a whole different level of, it doesn't even matter who's in charge here because you're not really in charge. If Pete Hegseth, even Dan Bongino, the Israel one, both of them are, but let's just pick two random dudes. And they're not random, but two dudes. They just came to my mind when I was thinking about this. If you have Pete, we have to first agree there shouldn't have been a shooting here. That doesn't mean the ICE officer should be drunk, jailed, prison, indicted, charged, all that kind of stuff. It still shouldn't have happened. If Pete Hegseth were leading DHS, this would not have happened. I guarantee you that. He would have had his people ready. There was plenty of time for this, plenty of warning for this. They weren't ready in California. They weren't ready in Oregon. They're not ready now. That's ultimately on Trump. So if Trump doesn't push her out by tonight, so when I wake up in the morning, she's gone, then I don't care about her anymore. Obviously, Trump should be gone over the Bondi stuff anyway. But let's just talk about this. Trump is next. And I've already been talking about Trump should be impeached. Trump was saying, you got to vote. You got to vote in the midterms or I'm going to be impeached. I was like, good. And that will be a louder noise from me. impeached and removed from office. Get her out now before more people die. She shouldn't be leading anything. She shouldn't be leading men with guns. She can put on a cowboy hat. She can put on her cowboy boots. She can go kill a dog. She can go do whatever she wants to do. She can go off, have affairs with whoever else she wants, whoever allegedly, whoever she wants to have affairs with, and go on somewhere. And I won't even talk about her. I shouldn't even know who she is. Be gone. When I wake up in the morning, I should watch Morning Joe, and they should say, Kristi Noem has resigned. Absolutely no way Trump can run a third time. A third time. He should be removed from office, and we should study what happened with a guy who turned traitor to the movement. This is another, Trump used to be the guy where you're fired. He's old, he's out of touch. So you move up the food chain, and Donald Trump, out of touch, old, not where he used to be, not what he used to do. You look at him and you think about Donald Trump in his prime. You go back and look at those clips as a different person. We age, we change. We don't have the energy. We don't have the fire. We don't have the wit. He's done. And more of this type of stuff is going to happen. We're going to invade this country and invade that country. And we're going to have people in charge like Cass Patel and Kristi Noem and Pam Bondi and Trump. The Trump that I remember from back in the day, the art of the deal, would have said, you're fired. That's what he would have said. Next. Now he's worried about his image. He's so soft, and he doesn't even have the heart to fire Kristi Noem right now. So instead, he's going on True Social and spewing all kinds of nonsense. G. Braxton says, and you are gender biased. Hillary is guilty of allowing Americans to be slaughtered for not sending help out to embassy when she was Secretary of State. Yeah, I know. You must want to live in a third world country. Dumb. No, this isn't. I'm not supporting Benghazi. What? Stay with me. Follow me. She objectively, Hillary Clinton is more of a boss than Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem is in charge of making sure that her ICE agents down the chain, not her directly, obviously, down the chain to make sure they are prepared. So after California happens and these riots happen in the summer, and remember we had the videos, I believe, I forget where we were. Was it Miami? I forget where it was. Even maybe in Florida. For some reason, I thought it was Florida. Maybe it was California, where the people were on the side of the road throwing bricks at the ICE truck, at the ICE vans as they drove down the boulevard. And I said at the time, they should have pulled over, guns drawn, and shackled people. You can't let that go. I don't know what happened. I think maybe they had got some of those people. If you can't do that, then you can't do the deportations. And you come to the people and say, I can't do the deportations until I man up and do all this advertising BS and all that. I'm not buying it. But you could say, until I can make sure the ICE agents are safe, the federal buildings are secure, which would take huge manpower, you do what you need to do. And you protect the ICE agents and you protect the citizens too. A lot of people need to be educated about their First Amendment rights, but I'm not co-signing Hillary Clinton, G. I'm trying to stay away from the Jews, man. Can I do a live without the Jews? No, I can't. I can't. Julian says we should deport all the Jews. No, you got Jen Perlman. There's Jews I like. Come on now. Let's easy. Maybe if you said most of the Jews, 90% of the Jews, 99, I don't know. I still have to think about that, think through that, but that's off top. You guys are off topic. Stay with me. So let's look at the timeline of what happened today. We've got the governor response, which is wild. So paramedics came right after 5 minutes. They loaded her into the ambulance after the shooting. They performed CPR at the scene. She was rushed to Hennepin County Medical Center with a gunshot wound to the head in extremely critical condition. She was pronounced dead at 10:30 a.m. According to Minneapolis city officials, local police secured the scene and notified state investigators. Witnesses and bystanders remained gathered in the area, so they were just kind of hovered there. And after it happened, the crowd was growing. Very similar to the Floyd thing. It didn't get to that point, but if it was summertime, who knows what would have happened. It's not like they haven't been through that just recently, within the last 6 years. Minneapolis City Council members publicly identified the woman, Renee Nicole Good. They say she was a Minneapolis resident out caring for her neighbors. You got to stop with the BS. That doesn't even, what does that mean? She was out caring for, what does that mean? Caring for her neighbors. I don't even know what that means. It just sounds nefarious. It sounds like you're covering up what she was really doing. If you're going to protest, be proud of protesting. If you're going to protest, and I have respect, even if I don't agree with somebody's protest, I have respect for someone who is going to when you do a protest, it's not a protest if you don't put your friends, family, income, life on the line. Not all of them necessarily, but if there's nothing, if you aren't risking anything, then you're not protesting anything by definition. And many protests violate the First Amendment. You take the First Amendment and you extrapolate it into something else. You don't have a First Amendment right to block a freeway. You don't have a First Amendment right to block a sidewalk. You don't have a First Amendment right to block, if you are doing that, an ICE vehicle from moving through the road. That's dangerous. You could be trapping them in to get ambushed. I don't know what you're doing. Obviously, you can't do that. So don't put on this lie. It just sounds like a lie. Out caring for neighbors is too vague. I'm not going to buy into that. 12:30, which is 3 hours after Mayor Jacob Frey, speaking of the Jays, and city leaders hold a press conference at City Hall. Frey expresses, this is the Jay who can't stop dancing and butt kissing the Somalis in Minneapolis. He expresses his condolences and then condemns ICE, calling the actions reckless and demanding federal immigration agents leave Minneapolis. Don't do that. I don't know what that is. They have an authority to go through in Minneapolis. You can't house people who are here illegally. This is why people also said Donald Trump needs to start rolling up politicians. If you don't roll these people up, then they just amp it up. There's no price to pay. So I don't know if that needs to happen to Jacob Frey, but there needs to be some serious discussion. Maybe Donald Trump shouldn't worry about Venezuela right now. How about that? You got problems here. You can't handle this country. Don't worry about Venezuela. Right after that, Governor Tim Walz reviewed videos of the incident. And then he came out of nowhere. There was propaganda coming out of DHS because it's a bad look. It's an absolutely bad look for DHS. There's no getting around it. It's bad optics. It was unnecessary. It didn't need to happen that way. But Governor Tim Walz was acting a fool. He threatened to mobilize the Minnesota National Guard to keep the federal government out of Minnesota. Absolutely insane for these people to, instead of calming things down, ramping it up. And he has a conflict of interest. He has a conflict of interest. He has a scandal against him right now.
Order to prepare the Minnesota National Guard. We have soldiers in training and prepared to be deployed if necessary. I remind you, a warning order is a heads up for folks. And these National Guard troops are our National Guard troops. They're teachers in your community, they're business owners, they're construction professionals. They are Minnesotans. Minnesota will not allow our community to be used as a prop in a national political fight. We will not take the bait. We will continue to update you, Minnesota, as we get more information. Now I'd like to turn it over to Commissioner.
So I was wondering if he was trying to put it in a nice way to have the National Guard there to make sure there weren't riots to destroy the city. If he wanted the National Guard to stop riots from destroying the city, then he would have said the National Guard is there to protect people who are going to be acting a fool from destroying the city like just happened a few years ago. If that's what the true intent was. I don't believe that was the intent. So you get this. You kind of get confusion. You get wondering, what do you mean by that? Governor Walz said also that the shooting was preventable. I agree with that. And unnecessary. I agree with that. Voicing outrage that a person died for no reason whatsoever. I do not agree with that. The person died because they did not obey. That simple. He urges Minnesotans to protest peacefully and not give the feds the show they want, even as he readies Guard troops for deployment if needed. It's interesting how he said they're our troops. So I like when people just have the courage to just say what they really want to say. And what he's doing is kind of not saying what he really wants to say here. He's not being clear one way or the other. Kristi Noem got involved at 5 p.m. She held a press briefing after flying in. I wonder if she had to break away from getting her hair and nails did or something like that. I wonder if her doctor had to take their scalpel out of her face, or I don't know how these procedures are done. She's had a procedure and she said, "Oh, I got to deal with this." But she did. Kristi Noem did have to break away and address it. When Kristi Noem addressed everyone, it was somewhat of an interesting spectacle. Let me see if I can find a clip of it real quick. It should probably be a top story or video. So here's a clip from Kristi Noem.
I've spoken to the president today on the situation here on the ground. I also just got off the phone a little while ago with Governor Walz and spoke to him as well. I want to reiterate first with all of you the facts of what happened today. At 10:25 a.m. Central Time, Immigration and Customs Enforcement were carrying out lawful operations here in Minneapolis. Because of the adverse weather that Minneapolis has seen in recent snow, one of the vehicles became stuck and ensnared in the snow. Law enforcement were attempting to push out this vehicle, and when a mob of agitators that were harassing them all day began blocking them in, shouting at them, and impeding law enforcement operations. ICE officers and agents approached the vehicle of the individual in question, who was blocking the officers in with her vehicle, and she had been stalking and impeding their work all throughout the day. ICE agents repeatedly ordered her to get out of the car and to stop obstructing law enforcement, but she refused to obey their commands. She then proceeded to weaponize her vehicle and attempted to run a law enforcement officer over. This appears as an attempt to kill or to cause bodily harm to agents, an act of domestic.
I'm not sold that's what she was trying to do. She could have been panicking, trying to leave. I don't know either way. I understand Kristi Noem has to kind of lean on that side, of course, but I don't know if I agree with that based on the video.
Terrorism. The ICE officer, fearing for his life and the other officers around him and the safety of the public, fired defensive shots.
I don't think he was fearing the safety of the public, but obviously fearing his own safety, which I do not blame him at all.
Used his training to save his own life and that of his colleagues. He was treated at a local hospital, has been released, and is now with family.
Treated at a local hospital. Was he hurt? I didn't see. I know Trump was talking about it like he just barely survived. No, that's not what the video showed. It was scary, no doubt, because car could just run you over, and you could probably see a case if that it looked like it was icy. If it weren't icy, that the SUV would have just taken off a lot quicker, and whether she meant it or not, could have clipped the guy. But the guy went in front of the vehicle. I think they were trying to get her to stop. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how that. I don't know why he stepped in front of it. Because I think they could have handled it from the angle they were at. They didn't see a gun. I mean, obviously she didn't have a gun. We haven't seen a story where she had one. That'd be a whole different thing. But that's your leader. Let's hear your leader a little bit more.
Impeding law enforcement operations. ICE officers and agents approached the vehicle of the individual in question, who was blocking the officers in with her vehicle, and she had been stalking and impeding their work all throughout the day. ICE agents report harm to agents, an act of domestic terrorism. The ICE officer, fearing for his life and the other officers around him and the safety of the public, fired defensive shots. He used his training to save his own life and that of his colleagues. He was treated at a local hospital, has been released, and is now with family. I encourage the American people at this point in time to pray for him, but also to pray for the deceased's family and her loved ones. Today alone in this country, there have been 4 different domestic terrorist attacks on federal officers by the ramming of vehicles. 3 of them happened here in Minneapolis. Oh. We've seen over 100 of these vehicle rammings happen in just recent weeks, and this must stop. ICE alone is facing a 1,300% increase in assaults against them and an 8,000% increase in death threats against all of them.
Yeah, but why don't you have your people ready? You got to have them ready.
In fact, the very same officer who was attacked today had previously been dragged by an anti-ICE rioter who had rammed him with a car and drug him back in June. He sustained injuries at that time as well. And let me remind you why we're all here in the city today and why we've been here. In communities across this country and here in Minneapolis, we're just enforcing the laws that we have in this country. For years under President Biden, tens of millions of dangerous criminal illegal aliens, terrorists, and suspected terrorists were allowed to invade our country over our southern border. They were allowed.
I don't know. I'm just thinking, I actually would have liked, believe it or not, even though I'm out on the mass deportation, I would have liked some more fire and brimstone. I would have liked some fire. Like some
to
heat.
Steal,
not this tone. Even though the preparedness is on her and Trump, I still would have had, and this would have been very strong tone against Minnesota, and I would have dumped a ton more ICE agents in the state. Would have dumped a ton more and said this is completely unacceptable. You're rattling off what's happening here. We know this is all true. We're seeing the videos of it. We saw videos. We've been seeing videos of this ever since Trump, basically, after the new year, after Trump was inaugurated, after Trump got sworn in, it basically started from there. And he hasn't even been doing deportations like crazy. Until recently, he's kind of amped it up as from what I'm looking at from the numbers. But I have to look at that more deeper. Because some of them include self-deportations and stuff. I'm talking about the processed removals, not at the border, not self-deportations, but it looks like it is up, especially the presence, at least, of the ICE officers. They dropped 2,000 in there. Was that in reaction to the, what's his name, Nick Shields, or I forgot what his name is, the guy, the reporter, just the streamer. I don't know if it's in reaction to that. You know, that story went viral and national news, federal, worldwide, basically. And then now all of a sudden 2,000 come in. Then I say this is out of control. We're bringing in more. I don't know how many total they have. I know they're trying to recruit 14,000. They got to train them up. Not going to happen overnight. And it's not that I don't even really support ICE. But the fact is we do have ICE. And the fact is she's right. We do have laws. So this is where, I don't know if anything's gone to the Supreme Court, but this is where we got to hash this stuff out. We can't this has bothered me going back on the channel for years. Sanctuary policies. Minneapolis is a sanctuary city. What the hell does that mean? So it means local police do not cooperate with ICE on immigration enforcement. So if local police don't coordinate with ICE on immigration enforcement, then your population who wants to protest, get. So it's tragic. I don't want to see I am nonviolent. I am peaceful. But I almost feel like Donald Trump needed to really get Kristi Noem out of there. And then I guess he couldn't do it right then, but she doesn't have the energy that's needed to get somebody in there and that will be the face to say, here's where the problems start. And now this tragic death happened. I really want to see these problems fixed. So if your local police are not good, you don't have to cooperate, but understand if you get in the way and your local police aren't there to help you stay out of the way, that's what's going to happen. These are men with guns who are not playing games with you. It just has to be. I don't know how else. If that's not the take, then why not secede from the? You can't be in the union and then also protest the ICE. At least violating you can protest within your First Amendment right, but blocking the way. I seen a video just a while back. A woman, I think, was in a Tesla. I don't know why I remember that, but she was in a Tesla that purposely blocked ICE somewhere. I was like, this is crazy. And this looks like a similar type of thing happening here. At the very least, we know she didn't obey orders. So ICE comes in alone. They bring 2,000 agents, and they don't have local people, law enforcement helping. If local law enforcement kind of coordinated with them, then this probably wouldn't happen. So instead of having like an organized type of way to handle this, you have basically federal government versus state. And that's what happens. They might need a larger show of force. That's what I think I need to hear from in this press conference right here. But we're not going to hear that.
And to perpetuate violence against American citizens. Regardless of who your mayor or who your governor is, President Trump promised every single American that he would make America safe again. He promised every single American that he would work to protect them from dangerous criminals. Since Governor Walz has been in charge of Minnesota, we have seen homicides go up by over 50%. That's also during Mayor Frye's tenure as well.
I don't need this. Stay on point, stay on topic. That's irrelevant.
Since President Trump took office, Governor Walz has released over 470 violent criminals back onto the streets here in.
Now you make everything look bad. Now you're into politics, and nobody trusts politics. It's almost like somebody trying to sell you something.
Minneapolis. He has another 680 of them still within his jurisdiction that he could give to us today to face the consequences for their crimes. Because Governor Walz and Mayor Frey refuse to protect Minnesotans and instead they protect these criminals, that's why we're here. And we didn't just show up yesterday, we've always been here. But we're surging operations because of the dangerous situation we see in this country and because we're no longer going to allow illegal criminals to damage and harm, to kill, to sexually abuse, to proliferate drugs, and to steal American taxpayers' dollars. This state has faced unprecedented immigration fraud. It's seen unprecedented benefit fraud. Individuals were allowed to come into this country.
So she's basically confirming that it's on the back of that report from the Nick Shirley Furley, whatever his name is.
Set up fake companies and fake nonprofits and divert billions of dollars away from American citizens and those vulnerable citizens who truly needed the services from those programs. This city has burned before, and your mayor and your governor let it happen. President Trump is not going to let that happen. He and our federal law enforcement officers are here to bring peace and to bring public safety and to ensure that criminal activity is stopped and that people who perpetuate it will face consequences. Since we have been here in recent weeks, we have arrested over 1,500 criminals off of the streets. Our law enforcement has arrested murderers, known and suspected terrorists, child pedophiles, and other brutal criminals that were protected here in this city. We should all work together to protect our citizens. We should all protect the men and the women and the families who live here in Minneapolis, who live in Minnesota, and live throughout this entire country. I want to thank you for being here, and I want to thank you for focusing on the important work that our federal officers do and make sure that we're focused on the priorities of this country, and that's making sure that we're keeping people safe. With that, I'll take any questions that you may have.
Secretary, Mayor Frey called the claims of self-defense BS. How do you respond to that?
I say that he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's very clear that this individual was harassing and impeding law enforcement operations. Our officer followed his training, did exactly what he's been taught to do in that situation, and took actions to defend himself and defend his fellow law enforcement officers.
Secretary, can you expand too on the agent's injuries? The president said that he's lucky to be alive.
The officer was hit by the vehicle. She hit him. He went to the hospital. A doctor did treat him. He has been released, but he's going to spend some time with his family. I can't, but the FBI will continue the investigation and release more facts when it's appropriate. No, we're following the standard protocol procedures we do in situations like this. When there's an officer involved shooting, we make sure that we get the facts and that we are getting the statements from everybody involved and make sure that investigators are handling the decisions.
Is this agent on?
Operations paused because of what happened today.
No, we're still out on the streets doing our work to get dangerous criminals off of the streets of Minneapolis.
Can you tell us whether there's
Into your conversation with the governor.
You know, Tim and I have known each other for years. We served in Congress together. We both ran for governor the same year and have served as governor at the same times. So we were colleagues and we discussed what happened here today. We have two very different viewpoints of it. I talked specifically about the fact that we have laws. They need to be enforced. He knows that I believe sanctuary policies have protected criminals and placed a priority of them over the citizens that live here. And he knows we'll continue to do our work. And I encouraged him to work with us. We've never had a cooperative arrangement with law enforcement here. Whenever we've done investigations, whenever we've done police work, when we've been doing what we can to bring people to justice for the crimes that they commit, we haven't had the cooperation of the state of Minnesota or the city.
But she's not tying that into what happened as much as I would like. But yes, that's good.
Police here under the mayor's direction. If you talk to any of these federal law enforcement officers, they'll say that when they call for backup in a situation, that it's hit and miss. They were grateful today that the police chief and local law enforcement showed up at the scene and helped secure it to make sure that nobody was harmed and that the FBI could do their work. But I would encourage them to work with us, that we could form a partnership that would make sure that individuals have the opportunity to have a safe Minneapolis.
Secretary Noem, the governor?
Over here.
Do you really stand behind the use of force? And will any of those use of force guidelines be altered or changed in the future?
You know, it's clearly established law that a vehicle driven by a person and used to harm someone is a deadly weapon. Deadly force is perfectly lawful when a threat is faced by a weapon. So I do believe that this officer used his training in this situation, and we'll let the FBI continue the investigation to get it resolved.
So just to be clear, did the shooting happen before or after the vehicle hit the officer?
I know you keep asking that, but that doesn't mean that the FBI is going to give you an answer today.
Well,
There
I'm just
will be an
trying to figure out the
investigation. We want to make sure that it's factual. What I would ask is that as we go forward from here today, that we all remember.
From looking at the video, it looked like it happened after the gas was pressed and the car was slipping a little bit is what it looked like. So the gas was pressed. I don't think he shot before he knew that the car was coming at him. Is that what we're debating? It was bang, bang.
would ask is that as we go forward from here today, that we all remember that our job is to have peaceful discussions. I'd encourage our local law enforcement and state law enforcement to work with us. We are going to continue to operate here in Minneapolis and in the state of Minnesota to make sure we're going after dangerous criminals. One of the key focuses that we've had here is a focus on individuals who are sexual predators and are involved in child exploitation. When I was just here yesterday,
This is off topic.
arrested individuals who were charged with criminal assault and sexual assault and people that exploited children. Why would you want to keep them on your streets? President Trump has promised to go after the worst of the worst, and that's exactly what we're doing in Minneapolis by not working with
I
us.
would have the message from the standpoint, if they're here illegally, I don't care what Minnesotans think. It doesn't matter. They're here illegally. We have the legal right to remove them. Stay the hell out of our way. That's the message. That it needs to be more serious than this playing around now. People are dying now, literally.
Governor Walz and Mayor Fry are putting those criminals and prioritizing them over our children and our grandchildren.
Governor Walz said that he has not been given any heads up when there is going to be
And
a
that's simply
federal
not true. He said that
enforcement
to me on the phone too. So I'll get him the documentation that he needs so that he knows that we would love to coordinate with him. He doesn't give us access to.
Wait, what? He's saying that he's trying to put the blame on them?
is going to be
And that's
a
simply
federal
not true. He
enforcement
said
What is he trying to... He's saying that the feds don't cooperate with him?
Governor Walz and Mayor Fry are putting those criminals and prioritizing them over our children and our grandchildren.
Governor Walz said that he has not been given any heads up when there is going to be
And
a
that's simply
federal
not true. He
enforcement
said that to
operation.
me on the
They
phone.
don't need to get a heads up. They said heads up, particularly. Well, even if you have given him a heads up, my response would be, I don't need to give him a heads up. Heads up for what? The state is not a sanctuary state, to my knowledge. I'll look that up. It's Minneapolis, but the state has policies like that, where they basically, the state policy is, maybe they don't come out and say they're a sanctuary state, but their policy is they do not help the feds, and they don't have to. They do not help the feds when they're looking for illegals. So why would I give you a heads up then if that's your state policy? Remember when what's his name came to the press conference and tried to press her? That sleazy, I forget his name, that sleazy senator. And I said she doesn't have the knowledge, the wit, the ability to just impromptu debate somebody. The senator, this sleazy, one of the sleaziest used carsman type senators out there, came to one of her press conferences and was heckling her, the guy who got dragged away a while back. And I said, well, Chrissy Nome, I would just have the discussion. Say, come up on the stage. Let's talk about it. He wanted to get dragged out. And my point is, she's here, and actually she's done a pretty good, like, textbook job, I guess, of just reading the script, giving the script, giving the talking points. As far as like dry talking points, you really can't do much better than that. But we need something more than that. And Pete Hegseth, for example, he brings a little bit more authenticity, I think, when he talks. I'm not a huge fan of his because he's one of those guys, the Zionists, but he's a little bit more authentic because he's not as buttoned up and on the talking points. And this is just too dry.
Too. So I'll get him the documentation that he needs so that he knows that we would love.
See, I don't think Pete Hegseth would answer like that. I don't think we'll give him the doc. Maybe he would have. Maybe I'm giving him too much credit. But I just have a feeling he would be like, they don't want to work. What do you mean? Heads up for what? So they can hide the illegals, basically? They hid millions, basically, allegedly, covered up crimes. You got state politicians being offed in their state. What do they want a heads up for? So they can tell all the illegals to go hide somewhere? Get out of here.
Love to coordinate with him. He doesn't give us access to any information on criminals, let us know who he's detained, doesn't honor our detainers, and has individuals and criminals in his jurisdiction that he won't turn over us today too.
Is there body camera
Yes.
footage available?
Officer involved today was once before raped by a vehicle. Can you explain the difference between that instance and today? Was a firearm discharged then? If not, what was the difference?
I won't speak to that case right now, but we can get you the details and the information on that. But the fact of the matter is he's an experienced officer. He's been in situations like this before, and he certainly has been out there and followed his training today.
Given the threat of vehicle encounters, are you going to change the way ICE agents?
You know, people need to stop using their vehicles as weapons.
No, that's a fair question. Given the vehicle encounters and that, absolutely, it's fine to say, of course, I agree. People need to stop using their vehicles as weapons. People need to stay the hell out the way. But the question is that's the question. That's probably one of my first questions. It feels like the ICE agents are not prepared for this urban type of protest, which is a very unique type of thing to be ready for, to train for. And it seems like they should be ready by now. It's not like this just happened when she just took over. They knew it was bad. They knew it was going to be bad. They don't seem ready.
Are you going to change the
This
training for
domestic
officers
act of
to help them
terrorism to
face
use
this?
your vehicle to try to kill law enforcement officers is going to stop. And I'm asking the Department of Justice to prosecute it as domestic terrorism because it's clear that it's being coordinated. People are being trained and told how to use their vehicles to impede law enforcement operations.
Now they're going to hand it over to the real dumb blonde, Pam Bondi. I actually never thought she was dumb until, I don't know if she's plain dumb, because I kind of had seen her before when she was AG of Florida. I never looked at her and thought she was dumb, but I never really followed her closely. She's horrific. She's probably worse than Chrissy Dome is.
And then to run over anybody who gets in their way while they go out there and try to disrupt peace and public safety. And Americans deserve better.
Are agents being trained differently?
That hasn't been a part of the discussion. I know Governor Walz mentioned some of that earlier in his press conference, but we know we've got law enforcement officers here that will continue to work, and we're hopeful that the public recognizes that the work that we do every day makes America safe again. With that, we had law enforcement officers that were out there doing an enforcement action, and a vehicle got stuck in the snow, and so they had called for other people to come and help them get that vehicle out. Those officers were trying to free the vehicle when the harassment started, when the protesters were out there impeding their vehicles and preventing them from leaving the scene.
What I would like to see stop now, though, is because it's reached a level of seriousness where these memes, and I never liked the memes. I talked about that maybe within the last few lives. I think I talked about that on the live where we were talking about the money being spent and where is it going? It's not going to training. They're trying to recruit more people. But the goofy meme stuff, the ice baby, let's just stop that. That's not the tenor. That's out of touch. That's not where, I don't know who's there. Who's buying into those memes? It's just the few, not the few, but the people who are still MAGA, I guess, are buying into it. But after a 37-year-old woman, unarmed, but with the car as the weapon, the vehicle as the weapon, gets shot in the head. Let's just stop with the ice baby memes. I'm not in the mood for them. They're not funny to begin with.
I won't speak to that.
Wait, won't speak to what? Sorry, I'm on 1.25 speed. I couldn't understand. Let's bring this back.
We're out there impeding their vehicles and preventing them from leaving the scene. I won't speak to that.
Were they on a crime that person maybe committed? They were going after.
Mm-mm.
Full body camera footage.
Mm-hmm. I will let the FBI decide.
Were they on target today when they were in that neighborhood?
They were returning back to headquarters, I believe, to start a new operation, had just completed one. Well, thank you. What's that? I was one of the vehicles that ICE officers were using. But remember, when we operate in a task force model. So we have other federal agencies that work with us, and we're very grateful for that. We have CBP officers, the FBI, DEA, ATF, all of those all work with us every day in a task force model, and we appreciate it. We'd love to have the state police, and we'd also love to have the Minneapolis police chief and his team.
I love how she has to wear the baseball cap to not look like she was miscast. Like she was some housewife on TV that just happened to play the role. I mean, it's smart, don't get me wrong, but I love how she has to wear the cap.
Be alongside of us while we're out there doing those enforcement operations.
Were the agents
I
there?
don't know if those earrings are the right choice, though. I wouldn't go with the big hoops in this case.
With
clearing
that, we'll
body
get
cameras that
you
were
more
on today?
information as it is revealed, but thank you and everybody. Let's work together to make sure that we can continue to help the city be safer, get more criminals off the streets, and ensure that our public has the opportunity to pursue the American dream in a city they can be proud of. Thank you.
And she was a very attractive. I thought she was a very attractive woman before the whatever she did. I honestly don't know what she did to her face, but let's compare Trump's first term to Biden's last year. Let's look at this. Are deportation levels actually higher now, or is this just some kind of misunderstanding or just promotion hype type of nonsense, or is it a true thing? If we look at it, let's look and see. I'm gonna look to see what we got here. Okay, comparing Trump's first year and Biden's last year. Under Trump's first term, ICE removals averaged roughly, oh, that's his first term, of course, 200,000 to 250,000 per year, peaking at 267,000, about 22,000 per month. Even when including voluntary returns, total deportations were about 1.5 million. President Biden's last year in office saw a rise. Well, that was going into the election. ICE deported over 271,000 people, more than Trump's 2019. He streamlined border operations with the Title 42. I believe that was the COVID thing ended. Now, under Trump, the scale has ballooned in just 11 months of 2025. DHS claims 622,000 removals, double the annual totals of recent years, dwarfing the 20K month of Trump's first peak. The current pace of deportations is the highest in at least a decade, if not ever. It far outstrips the Obama era high of 316,000, and they have explicitly set ambitious targets. So maybe it's higher than I thought. The surge's impact on ICE's caseload is also evident in detention numbers. The ICE detained population and docket of pending cases have swelled to record highs. Okay, so this is where there's always a catch. Let's see what the catch is. However, it's worth noting what types of deportations have increased. Much of the numeric jump comes from border enforcement. I'm not counting. I don't want to count that. I want to make it fair and not count it across the board, but that's not what I'm referring to as border enforcement. Voluntary departures. Now, the voluntary departures, I think, is where they're paying like $3,000 for them to leave or something, rather than a pure doubling of interior. So they're putting that in there. In the 12 months after Title 42, U.S. removed or returned 775,000 migrants. So while monthly ICE removal totals are indeed higher, part of that increase is due to counting border returns that previously might not have been processed as formal removals. Okay. Playing with the numbers. I honestly don't know where we are. I have to unpack that. It's I just thought it was going to be as easy as getting a number. They don't make it that easy. It's not that easy. Did I miss a cyan? Left my own studio. Oh, I lose the comments. Wow. Oh no, I have super chats here. Okay. I missed the second Cyan super chat. Owen Schroyer's slow motion analysis showed the first shot. He was in front of the SUV, though. The second and third shots were through the driver's window. Okay, I see. But once you fire the first shot, then, I mean, do you stop? I don't know how you stop after you fire the first shot. So good, thank you. $5 super chat, Cyan. So I see that. And that's what I remember seeing. I saw a lot of people slow motion and I don't know, I just wasn't in the mood to just keep watching it over and over, so I didn't. So thank you. People need to stop watching the news, Xeno Rabbit 439 says. They got too much emotion invested in things they'll never be a part of. I think some of that's fair. But I think it's okay to have a vested interest in the direction of your country. So I know you're not saying not to do that. I think you're just saying to avoid the propaganda. But you also said you said you got too much emotion invested in things you'll never be a part of. What does that mean? So you're watching the news and you're seeing what's happening in Minnesota. You'll never be a part of what? So I need a little bit more clarification on that. People need discernment. People need honesty. And that's a lot of what the Jude conversation is to me. I'm tired of being, and I'm not even going to get into the JQ or anything like that, but my part of it is I'm tired of why are we lying? Why are we pretending like this isn't here? I think that's part of the energy. So it's not, I know what you mean by discernment, but I think we actually need just brutal honesty. We need the truth. Oh, the girl that died. I see. I got you, Xeno Rabbit. Xeno Rabbit saying Renee Nicole Good, who passed away, had too much emotion invested. Yeah, I can see that. She had too much emotion that when that emotion overrides your common sense, then yeah, it's a problem. I agree. Nicholas says he was in danger when she started accelerating. Absolutely. I'm in front of the car. You could tell he was a little worried because he wasn't in front of the car in the middle of the front of the car. He was off to the side. But I don't think he was in the right position. That's not the right position. That can't be the right position. But yeah, he was absolutely in danger when that happened. Brute says, was Ashley Babbitt justified? Yeah, I would say I don't think it was. I think it was a problematic shooting just like this one. But yeah, here's what I'll say. I don't like calling the Ashley Babbitt one just, but I think the only definition that really matters is, do I think that, what was his name again? I forgot the black guy's name. I completely forgot his name, but I don't think that the guy should have been, just layman thoughts on it, should have been charged and arrested like others did. And that's all that matters. Even with this one, was it just or not? I would call this one just, but forget about that. Do I think this is something that I would, just watching it and seeing what happened as a lay person, would I say that this person, this ICE person today who shot Renee Good, should have been indicted on charges, basically? And not even, forget about whether they should be convicted or not. Should they be tried? No. My thought is no. My first honest thought is no, without looking at the law. And that's the same. I've always said that about Babbitt. I compared Babbitt to George Floyd, and I still stand by that. I said George Floyd messed around and didn't value his life enough. And that was a little bit different because I think he unlived himself. Maybe he got a little bit of help, but that was a different scenario, but it was the same type of thing from the standpoint of Ashley Babbitt, James Blake or whatever his name is. I forget all the names of the guys. You can just rattle off the names. I used to have all their names memorized because I was studying their freaking incidents. But yeah, Ashley Babbitt shouldn't have been there, and she risked her life being there. And no, I don't think, what's his name, Michael whatever, I forgot the guy's name. No, I don't think he should have been tried. Let's see here. LV Childress says, first of all, sanctuary is repugnant to federal law. Yeah. Second of all, following the events, the cop that immediately went for the door caused a chain of causation where the driver was, I think you're going to say, kind of scared. Where the driver was, but I don't have a problem. The car was in the way. So the ICE officer got out of their truck and then said, hey, they looked like they were going to detain her, which I've been saying they should be doing. But it's a lot easier said than done. Zeno Rabbit says people have to understand that there's almost 300 to 400 million people in America now, and it seems like half people are against what ICE are doing. Incidents are bound to happen due to law of abundance. I think it is very important for the president to speak and address the nation specifically on the ICE stuff. And I think he might have been doing that, but I think he clouded it with the National Guard conversation. I think he clouded it with the National Guard conversation, and really a lot of it should have been focused on your reasoning, kind of like what Kristi Noem was getting at the press conference, but in a more Trump, frank, down to earth, without the teleprompter. You're just reading a script, saying why are we doing this, and coming and talking to the people and really the press conference should be, and Trump could say this press conference is for, I want to address the people protesting ICE. I may not change your mind, but I'm your president and I'm going to address you all. But I can't get with it because it's very selective where Trump is going. He's not going after hotels and big businesses. So basically the people who donate to Trump, this neo-MAGA movement, what it is now, they basically get a free rein. Trump hasn't made the policy official because he made it official. People got feedback saying, wait a second, why are they immune? Took it away, and now they're unofficially immune. He's not raiding the big corporations. So that's what is that policy? That's a policy that does nothing but protect corporations. So I have a problem with it, but let's take that off the table. He should be addressing people who are protesting him and making the case and being honest. I know I'm not going to probably change your mind, but I am your president. And when we come through, there will be men with guns. So if your local law enforcement, if you want to protest and you're violating the First Amendment, meaning you're breaking the law, our agents will protect themselves up to and including offing your ass. That's the conversation. We need to have frank conversations. There comes a time in a relationship where you have to be honest. It happens to every relationship I've ever seen in my life. Nobody's immune to that. Okay, here's the elephant in the room. Here's the conversation. I didn't like when you did that. Yeah, I didn't bring it up at the time. I'm bringing it up now, that type of thing. Let's have a family discussion. I don't want anything to happen, but this is where we're heading. Why can't we have that conversation now? That's what a leader does. That's what I vote for a president to do, that, to have that kind of conversation, to have those kind of moments. We don't have that. We don't have any type of leadership. Just a failure in leadership from the top down. Maybe we should get our real president to come through again. Maybe he could come through for the 100th time in a year, and let's have Benjamin Netanyahu come through and address America and talk about this. Can you come, Benjamin Netanyahu? Can you come to D.C. and talk to the American citizens, since you are basically our de facto president, and tell us what the hell is going on? Lakin Riley, let's see how Lakin Riley got. Best Grandma 2844 says, WTF does Lakin Riley have to do with this convo? Amazing how maggots think spewing a name says something. Yeah, I don't know. I have not brought up Lakin Riley in regards to this conversation. Do we have somebody from Twitch in the building? Okay. Leave Walls alone. I think I used to have the drop of the Britney. Don't let me have that drop ready. I haven't used drops on the show in a while. Yeah, let's go. Leave Walls alone. You're lucky he performs for you bastards.
And how fucking dare anyone out there make fun of Britney after all she's been through? She lost her aunt. She went through a divorce. She had 2 fucking kids. Her husband turned out to be a user, a cheater, and now she's going through a custody battle. All you people care about is readers and making money off of her. She's a human! What you don't realize is that Britney's making you all this money, and all you do is write a bunch of crap about her. She hasn't performed on stage in years. Her song is called Give Me More for a reason, because all you people want is more, 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 more! Leave her alone! You're lucky she even performed for you bastards! Leave Britney alone! Please! Perez Hilton talked about professionalism and said if Britney was a professional, she would have pulled it off no matter what. Speaking of professionalism, when is it professional to publicly bash someone who's going through a hard time? Leave Britney alone! Please! Leave Britney Spears alone right now! I mean it. Anyone who has a problem with her, you deal with me. Because she's not well right now.
She's still not well. This is from what? 08 or something?
Leave her alone.
I love the end of that. That's a classic, man. We brought that back from the dead. Thank you for that one, man. That was good. We needed a laugh because people dropping like flies out here, man. I don't know what we're gonna do with Minnesota. Tim Walz is a mess, but it's something separate from even him in Minnesota that it just needs to be addressed. I don't know. I don't even know how to do it other than telling them to leave the union. I don't even know how you address what's going on in Minnesota. I have no idea. I have no plan. I have no idea. But it's almost more concerning to me than California or New York. It's that bad. More thoughts. People are going after Tim Walz hard. And they're coming for Tim Walz on the Somali stuff a little bit. I mean, we'll see what happens. Nothing ever happens, but somebody said ICE agents are the equivalent of the police. Not exactly, but yeah, I mean, they're men with guns is what it comes down to. That's really what it comes down to. If you're dealing with a man with a gun, Especially you don't have a gun, especially it's the state. It doesn't matter if you have a gun or not. It's the state. If you value your life, then you'll want to live to fight in court. What is this? I'm sure many people is not going to like this, but also what makes you believe him 100% when his first lady does not trust him, Florida cheating on her. Huh? I don't know what that means. Lauren Jones says, well, I mean, it's a fairly known fact that Democrats would definitely vote for Epstein. They love pedophiles. I mean, I made a statement earlier today that's kind of could be shaky, considering Steve Bannon's history with, and I don't know the full story with Steve Bannon and Epstein. I don't know what that full story is. I do have to look at it. But I actually said Steve Bannon. I'm trying to think like who would I support for president? Young Nick isn't Nick Fuentes, of course. Young Nick Fuentes is not of age yet, and he might not even want to run for office. Who would I vote for? The closest probably would be Steve Bannon, if he were not a Zionist. But I bring him up because he's an Epstein guy. At least from like he knew the dude and was doing a documentary on him. I don't know what the relationship was, but he knew the dude pretty well. Seen photo of him and Epstein came out, I think, with this latest drop. But without knowing fully what happened there, yeah, I would consider it. I don't know for sure if I would, but I would consider absolutely voting for Steve Bannon if he were a non-Zionist. It's a big if. Very, very big if. Body cams are crazy. We got them for accountability, but it just increased the fatigue. Yeah, that's good. I mean, we should be fatigued. I mean, it doesn't feel good to be fatigued. But now that we can kind of screenshot and notice patterns, I think that's a good thing. That's a good point, Brute. The product of blackmail and extortion is silence. Not everyone involved with Epstein is guilty. Absolutely. That's why I say I don't know what his relationship was. Just because he knew the dude doesn't mean I am accusing Trump at this point. I am straight up accusing Trump of doing something. I don't know what he did wrong, but doing something wrong. Because I've seen enough of what he's covered up. I'm not going to pretend like I can back Trump and say, oh, well, he probably didn't. No, he probably did. And I see the pattern from his first term to now of covering stuff up, trying to change the news cycle every second, basically shut down the government over it. I've seen enough. But as far as banning goes, no, I'm not going to do that. Somebody had a Nick Fuentes comment. Hoopty West says, I don't think if Nick Fuentes got elected into any public office, he would have a very long shelf life. I don't think public officials should have a long shelf life. You should go in, burn fast, to go hard, and get out. I don't think you should. If you have a long shelf life, you're Nancy Pelosi. You're milking the system. You're making money out of the yin yang, and you don't give a F about anything. To be a public servant is almost like the military for policy. You're not a military guy for your whole life, at least like active. So I'd be fine with that. I think I kind of agree with you. I agree with you. If he were president, he would be one term probably. Because he would go so effing hard, he would have to be one term. Jesus loves you the most. I have a drop. Everybody bring back the drops now. Do I still have Jesus loves you the most? I think I might have deleted that one. Wow. The one time I could have used it. I got rid of it. The one where that comedian was on stage and looked like she took the shot from the koof koof and said, Jesus loves you the most, and she dropped right there. She lived, but she dropped. Renee N. Good never saw that agent at all. I said that earlier. I don't think she did. I do not think she even saw the agent. I don't think she had intent. Who knows? Just from the video, I do not think she had intent to run over an agent. It didn't look like that to me. It looked like she panicked. You know, you're in the car, you think you're doing a little protest or whatever. It's not funny. Rest in peace to her. You think you're doing your protest and maybe you're cute and maybe you'll put it on social media or something like that. And all of a sudden, you're in the thick of it and the ICE agent's running to your car and I just hate to say it, and you're a woman. You know, you're emotional. You're not thinking calm. Yeah. It's done. It's over. Gabe says leaving the scene, using her car to get away, regardless of people being in front of her. She was trying to hit them. The pure copium wild. I don't know if we know that for sure. It's possible you're right, but I did not determine that from what I saw. Okay. Okay, guys. What is happening right now? What is going on right now? Come on, guys. Come on, guys. It's a peaceful Tuesday. It's early in the morning Tuesday. It's 2:30 a.m. Eastern, guys. I'm in Mountain Time Zone. Chewy Guru, you're grounded. No PlayStation, no internet. Charlie Kirk was left leaning before he died. Okay. That's enough. Too soon. Regardless of whether she tried to hit him, she drove straight at him. She hit the gas hard. Yeah, she hit the gas hard. She hit that gas pretty hard. I think she just panicked. I mean, it looked like she clearly just panicked. She wasn't trying to I highly doubt she was trying to run over the one guy when there's a guy right by her door. So what's the point of running over the one guy? Unless you show me some history of violence or something like that doesn't even make sense. Was it comic? Why would she try to run over the guy in the front when there's a guy right at the driver window? She was trying to peel off. Yeah, big mistake. Let's learn from what happened. 6:30. Whoa, we got Australia up in here. Up there with the kangaroos and the koala bears at 6:30 a.m. Good morning, Australia. Thanks for taking your time to join the live. She was there to hurt ICE. No, I don't. Yeah, I mean, it's cliche at this point, but F around and find out is apropos. How many gangs did ICE deport lately? Not enough. I can tell you that much. Bro, you sat there and shit on Charlie Kirk dying, but you want to pretend to have empathy for somebody who was obstructing the law. What an interesting take. I wasn't trying to. Oh, he's probably talking about that dude. You would consider me actually a Charlie Kirk fan. I never really spoke too negative. I never really spoke negatively of Charlie Kirk, even after I kind of crashed out on the Jays. Now I just stopped watching him, but I never really kind of spoke negatively about him as much like I did like a Tim Pool or something like that. So I mean, and then after he's gone, we lost a guy who knows what he would have evolved into. So I definitely we're feeling the loss politically of Charlie Kirk. That's no joke. Charlie Kirk is unlived, and the biggest Zionist in America, the biggest Israeli operative, Ben Shapiro, leads off TPUSA. That's a guy I never seen him at TPU. Maybe he has. I don't remember seeing him at TPUSA like that. Not even like a feature like that. So Charlie Kirk dies or gets assassinated, and the first event, the first official normal TPUSA event, Ben Shapiro leads off after Erica Kirk. And then not only that, he gets on the stage and just tells everybody what to think and starts a whole big, basically back and forth that ruined the whole event. Now, that's on them for letting it ruin the event. There's other things that ruined the event. Tim Dillon had a great crash out on that. It was out of touch. But you started off with a conniving, subversive tiny hat. And I'm not telling you who, I don't know who unlived Charlie Kirk, but I am telling you who's benefiting from it. And that's very interesting. Ben Shapiro is MAGA now, guys. If you own what you are now. If you don't like Ben Shapiro then and you rep MAGA, you're in the wrong suit. You're wearing the wrong hat. I swapped hats. I have a Andrew Yang math hat. My Andrew Yang math hat is on the ground right now collecting dust and dirt. Literally, I am not joking. I will go get it for you right now to show you that thing is on the ground, messed up, collecting dust and dirt. I will pick that thing up right now and show you. So why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing it up because if you think MAGA doesn't include Ben Shapiro, then you have another thing coming. You are wearing the wrong hat and you need to swap the hats. And I'm happy to red pill people on America First. You make your own decision, of course. But I'll be right back.
Yeah. Sean, we were talking before about how you have so much respect from your teammates, from peers. You said you've had great interactions with fans pretty much all the time. I did want to ask, you're in Toronto. Welcome. Glad to hear it. It's been great.
Are you Canadian?
Of course I am.
Are you part of the fucking opposition? Are you?
I don't know how to phrase that.
You got like fuck.
So this is I was not lying. You see it's dirty? This thing was on the ground. I used to like Andrew Yang, and within a year or two or whatever, he starts promoting Liz Cheney. I'm out. Now your hat's trash. I used to support Officer Brandon Tatum. This is when I was in my MAGA. This hat is dope, though. I'm not going to lie. I won't lie to you. This is Officer Tatum's hat. I love the blackout flag. I black it out for a different reason than he does, but this is a sharp hat. I love this hat. But I swapped it. So that hat's gone. Not MAGA anymore. It's America First. Go get you one of these. They got a camouflage with the orange. They got a whole bunch. I think they got a black on black. That's a dope one. I wanted to get the classic. I went cheap. I should have bought two. But I was just like, let me just get one. I should have got this and I should have got all of them, to be honest with you. I should have got all of them. I should have at least got this, and the black on black is actually dope. I'm going to get the black on black. But you want to get the classic first. It's like getting the classic MAGA hat. You got to get the classic. If you're MAGA, you got to get the classic MAGA hat. But if you are MAGA, Mark Levin is your MAGA. Marco Rubio is your MAGA. Christy Nome is your MAGA. Pam Bondi is your MAGA. That's what you are now. So just enjoy that and own that. If you freeze frame when she stops reversing and turns the wheels before moving forward, both of the agents near the front legs are both to the left and beside the vehicle. Yeah, I agree with you. So you're trying to say that he could have gotten out the way. Yeah, I agree. I think he could have tried to get out the way, but I can't blame him for not, though. So that's where we disagree. If I don't know what your take is, but if you're saying that he could have gotten out the way, but he shouldn't have shot, then that's where I disagree. Somebody said, I have a feeling this guy unironically watches Candace Owens. Yeah, you've got it right. I don't like Candace Owens, not because I'm really that much different than her with ideology. It's I don't like how she did Nick Fuentes, and she's been annoying in the past. That's not the only thing, but that was the last straw. I don't even understand it. I don't understand the Candace Owens beef with Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes has never been. Before she set him up with that interview, he was nothing but cordial, and he actually, in a weird way, was revered her a little bit for showing courage and was using her as his avatar on Twitter. His profile pic, he used the old Candace Owens pic. I think it's about competition. She knows she's the beast. She's the number one right now, I think. I mean, Tucker, I don't know. I think she's probably number one right now. Everybody's talking about her. After Nick. A number one, I'm saying like kind of mainstream YouTube. Nick's not even on YouTube. So I think she's number one, like from that YouTube stuff. And then overall, Nick is everything. So I think it's that competition. I don't know why she doesn't like, because they both are cool with Ye. It doesn't make any sense to me. It makes no sense. And Nick did not start that beef at all. That's for sure. Banner says it doesn't even matter if he did get in the way. That doesn't give her the right to ignore orders and attempt to drive. Yep. Oh, Owens and Fuentes have beef because of the episode they did together. Yeah, but that's not Nick. Nick was thinking they would go in that episode and maybe talk about how they had a little bit of a beef. I think they had a little beef on Twitter or whatever. I forgot. Basically, she didn't invite him in the Twitter space. It's a competition thing is what it appears to be. Who knows? But to me, it appears to be a competition thing. Because, she brings Nick into her space. The demographics are Candace Owens is very big, pretty big politically with certain women. She has a much more female, it's very valuable in this political arena to have a female audience. And believe it or not, Nick has somewhat of a female audience, and he can attract a certain, the same demographic that Candace Owens has. Nick Fuentes can attract that same demographic, believe it or not. So I think it's a fear thing of, if I collab with Nick benefits from it more than I do. Because Nick's audience already knows Candace Owens. Candace Owens collabing with Nick doesn't really help Candace Owens that much. It just prevents the Groypers from going at her, but doesn't really grow her. Candace Owens platforming Nick, that blows Nick through the roof to me. So I don't know if that's it, but I think that's true. And that could be part of the reason why Candace Owens brought him on to her audience and tried to say, you can't mess with this dude. Because she didn't want him to even get bigger than he was. But, I mean, since then, he keeps getting bigger. Can't find him. I say it's the truth. The truth will always come up. It will always come to light. I just don't understand why they can't say it's under investigation instead of calling it domestic terrorism. They always go 0 to 100. Yeah, it's just for optics, politically. I don't mind going from 0 to 100, but I understand you that on that one, there's no need. What's 22 degrees Celsius? I don't know how warm that is. That seems hot, right? She was dishonest about what they would talk about. Yeah, I know. Yep. It was a setup. I mean, she's conniving. She's very, very manipulative and conniving. And she's very smart, and she's a beast. Do not underestimate her. She is not one to play with. And I'll actually say this. I kind of wish Nick would kind of stay away from her, to be honest with you. Nick's been on a generational, and the Groypers have been on a generational run from H-1B stuff, from when Elon Musk's, even basically from Groyper War 2. They really kind of changed the presidential race and showed a lot of stuff there. I'm hoping Nick still plans on going to Ohio to knock off Vivek Ramaswamy. Vivek Ramaswamy basically said he's not going to use Twitter the same way or something like that. But the one part of the generational run that I don't like is the Candace stuff. After the Candace, right after it, I got it. It's good, but he's still kind of like going at Candace, and I don't see why. I'm not saying he should like Candace for sure, but I don't know. That's the only thing I'm like, I don't even. She's not even in his. From what Nick talks about, Candace isn't even relevant. Because Candace has gone down this kind of, because she has I don't know how large her female audience is, but it's pretty large, I think. And she's gone down this, they like the mysteries. So she's gone down it, which is great. It's a storytelling thing. It's captivating, viewer retention. Candace is a star. Obviously one of the greatest radio podcast streamers, whatever you want to call this, to ever live. So she's in a different lane than Nick. Nick doesn't even really need. If she says something about Nick, then I get it. But I think Nick should just leave her alone. I don't see the benefit. Somebody says Nick is a homosexual. Why would you care if he was? That's weird. I guess if you want to make jokes or whatever, that's fine. But is he wrong about something? And just to be clear, I'm not saying that he is. But people will do anything other than talk about the substance of what he says. Yeah, I don't really know about the fuck ICE. What does that mean? Why don't you secede? See that why so you say fuck ICE, okay. Well then what then that's the whole federal government then, right? You should be pushing to leave. We had the wounded rooster. Thank you for stopping by. Says, I've only been watching you for 5 minutes. I think I'm going to like your content. Can you broadly share your political views? Curious. Yeah, my views are all over the place. The channel started as Stuck in the Middle, and just because I don't know where I'm at, I like a lot of left policies you would call left. I like a lot of right. I don't think that there's a word for that. And it's evolved into embracing some of libertarianism and then also even some of America First. So I would describe myself as a Christian nationalist, an America First Christian nationalist. I do support universal health care. I actually support, separate from that, or even addition to that, potentially universal basic income. People consider that socialism or leftism. So, and I'm very constitutionalist as well. I'm very original interpretation of the Bill of Rights. Amendments after that have been trashed, but the Bill of Rights is golden. So I don't know what you call that. I'll put it in ChatGPT and have it tell me what it is. But whatever that is, that's where I'm at. So that if you want to copy somebody that's doing stuff now, I would say a cross between Dave Smith and Nick Fuentes. Those are my two top guys. Appreciate you, the Wounded Rooster. I'm cool with a lot of people on the left. I'm cool with a lot of people on the. I was MAGA for a while, like a Trump supporter, you could say, but then I fell out with that. God is real. God is good. Yeah, I like that. Micah. Micah says, I think most of our political views are a mix of both left or right. Yeah, this stuff is fake. That's why MAGA kind of fell apart. And even though I don't like MTG anymore, I do see where she fell apart with MAGA. She's like, well, she was never a left or right person. She was just like a populist. Nick Fuentes is a self-admitted Nazi. I'm very familiar with Nick Fuentes' comment. I've listened to hundreds, probably thousands of hours of Nick Fuentes at this point. Nick Fuentes is not a Nazi. If he has said that, and he might have, it's in jest. When we get down to like really defining these things, he's not a Nazi. He's not. He's a Christian futurist, Christian nationalist, Christian, I would say Christian first, America first personality. He's not really a left or right guy either. He is definitely more authoritarian than I am in nature, but I've evolved where I don't think the form of government that we have matters. It's what is the moral foundation of the people in charge? If you have a democracy, a representative republic, and you choose people to represent you who violate children and cover up for it, and then people like Dan Bongino come to public service, leave public service, then spit on, figuratively, people who aren't happy with accountability, then what is the point of a representative republic? It's failed. If the people that you choose don't have good morals, then what's the point of who cares if it's who cares about anything? Who cares about the Constitution? Of course they're going to talk about censorship. Of course they're going to talk about AI censorship of taking clothes off women or whatever, like putting them in two pieces. You know, you can also put clothes on women too with AI. But of course they're going to talk about censorship and those type of things because they don't have any moral foundation. And the ones that do, Nick Fuentes probably supports banning porn, for example. There's a moral foundation to have a different set of written rules that I would align with more than the representative republic we have now. Why Fuentes? Fuentes is why do we talk about Fuentes so much? There's nobody else telling the truth. That's why. So if you're watching this right now and you're saying why Fuentes, just go watch the show. It's on YouTube. It's not on YouTube, which really pisses me off. Really pisses me off to have the algorithm's actually kind of in favor of him now. But he's on Rumble. Just go to Rumble. It's a good site, just like YouTube. I'll give you a link to his page. And go watch the bruh. His show is a straight political show. He's the best political commentator out there. What you see, the clips you see are just lighthearted moments, jokes, levity, fun. He's not boring, but you get to the takes. They're just political takes. He's a very knowledgeable dude. I don't know much, but surface well-known views. What do you disagree with him about? We had a slight disagreement on the last one. He believes that the force of the military should be on the table for American imperialism. I am an imperialist. I do. I am an imperialist. So I'm not going to be against America, putting America first in these negotiations, but I do take war off the table. ChatGPT, can you hear me? If you can hear me, answer this. What is the definition of what's the definition of imperialism?
Imperialism is basically the fancy human word for one country deciding it needs to boss around other countries and take their stuff. In other words, it's when a nation expands its power and influence over others through diplomacy or military force, or just by being the big bully on the block. And yes, I'm about 98% confident that definition is accurate, give or take the usual human.
Let me ask you this. I believe that America should be somewhat of a bully, but I take war off the table, proactive military strikes, everything else diplomatically is on the table. Would you call me an imperialist?
If you want the snarky AI take, I'd say you're basically rooting for America to be the heavyweight who throws its weight around in the ring of world politics, just without the punching. So, are you an imperialist? Well, you're not exactly signing up for the old school empire building, but you are kind of leaning into the idea that it's cool for the US to throw its weight around
What
diplomatically.
the hell is going on? I messed around and chose like a
Hey,
bad
what's up?
setting.
Feel free to ask me about.
Just answer the damn question. Would you call me an imperialist?
All right, let's skip the frills. If you're basically saying you want the US to push its weight
Answer
around
the question, yes or no.
Sure, let's cut to the chase. If you're all in on the US using its muscle to influence others, even without war, then yeah, that's a flavor of imperialism.
Okay, so I have no problem with that. I'm an imperialist. But the disagreement I have with Nick is Nick says as a last resort. Nick is very clear on this. He's not saying like he's big on, he doesn't want regime change where we occupy other countries in his form of imperialism. But Nick is an imperialist who says, yes, if diplomatic approaches fail, then we should use war. That's Nick's position. I have actually even a clip of Nick saying that. But that's his position. So I disagree with that. I don't think war should be on the table. Why? Because when we look at the founding fathers, that they realized that the decision to go to war can't be concentrated with one person. Otherwise, it lends itself to full corruption. And we're already there, and we've kind of lost that separation of power because Congress doesn't care. And that kind of is partly of, if you're not going to impeach the president, then really, what are you going to do? But I think that's why the hats have been able to basically control our country, because the power is too concentrated. It's not divided like it should be. So they come into our country. They say they're Americans. It's an American Israel. What is an American Israel? It's the American Israeli Political Action Committee. They give money to all parties, everyone in Congress, basically, except maybe one or two, and they all vote in favor of that country. And we don't have any divide anymore. So now Trump is in power. It doesn't even matter if it's Trump or Obama or whatever. Obama was even actually a little bit more challenging of Israel. But Trump is a true puppet. And the military might just accidentally, I guess the take is that it coincidentally goes at Venezuela, who's anti-Israel, Cuba, who's anti-Israel, Colombia, who's anti-Israel, Iran, who's anti-Israel. I guess that's just supposed to be a coincidence. It's not against Argentina, who has a Zionist president in Milei. So my point is, you can't support war being on the table and have a check and balance for imperialism and have a check and balance with the federal government. If war is on the table for your version of imperialism, then your president is not your president. The deep state, the Department of War is. Whoever has the guns they're winning. And you've handed them that power. There's no check and balance. That's one thing, I guess, and that's kind of a small. There's not many things that he says that I disagree with strongly. I disagreed with him on his take on I forgot the guy's name. Was it Abrego Garcia? The guy who Christy Gnomes, DHS, ICE, was it ICE? I forget who. The guy who got taken, scooped up, got put in El Salvador. They had to bring him back. Nick was like, hey, the guy is a bad guy or whatever, get him out of here. But you can't just scoop people off the street without some type of separate check from the executive branch, especially when there's a judicial order that says he can't go to El Salvador. So if Trump can override that because you think he's a bad guy, then he can override it and scoop me up out of here too, or anybody, you too. So that's a small disagreement, but it's not a lot. Fundamental disagreements, I can't even think of one. He's a much smarter man than I am, so I'd be hard pressed to disagree strongly on certain things unless I'm very strong, very knowledgeable in the topic. Like I'm very knowledgeable in the Garcia topic. So that's why I could talk about that. Justin says, I literally couldn't give less of a fuck about any of this shit. Kind of tired of hearing about everything from every Peckerwood with the camera. That's fair. I can't really argue with that one. That's fair. Thanks for stopping by, though. Trump and Republicans are pedos, just a fact. I'm not going to say it's a fact because I don't know that for sure, but I will say I believe it. Gaza, 50,000 deaths in 2 years. Horrific that we played a part of that. We paid taxes to kind of pay into the system that did that. Yeah, and Dave Smith has that common line, what they do to other countries is what they would do to you. America only, F politics, right, left wing, same bird. Yeah. Julie Uli. America only. Okay, that's the term. I was trying to think of like when I was renaming my channel, I was thinking about doing something like that. I was like, that's too close to Nick, so I didn't want to do it. But I've heard Marjorie Taylor Greene bring that up. Garcia is a mierda seca. What is that? I don't know Spanish. Is that dead? I don't know what that means. Sorry. I could translate it quickly, but I don't feel like it. Somebody said F politics. I don't blame you. Jordan Lott, what's good? Yo, brother, libertarian, it's great to see you. We need to party with our homie Dr. Shiva. Dr. Shiva's the man. He's legit. Yeah, that's the homie, man. Dr. Shiva. Which country are we taking over next? I don't know. You tell me, MAGA. You're the MAGA try to take over countries. They talk about Greenland, Colombia, and Cuba. But they haven't taken over Venezuela yet. So might want to focus on that first. Gaza equal 50,000 deaths in 2 years. Is fentanyl 70,000 deaths every year? Oh my goodness. Is that a true number? If that's true, that's wow. ChatGPT, how many deaths per year do we get from fentanyl, unfortunately?
Well, here we are talking about the ever cheery topic of fentanyl deaths. Let's break out the reality check. In the United States, the annual number of deaths from fentanyl overdoses has been staggering and climbing over recent years. As of the most recent data leading up to 2024, we're talking around 70 to 80,000 overdose deaths per year involving synthetic opioids like fentanyl. So yeah, it's a pretty grim number.
Damn, I didn't know it was that big. Wow, it's over 70,000. Damn, that's crazy. I knew it was a problem, but they keep talking about it so much. It's almost like one in 1 year, out the other. And thankfully, it's not a problem for me or anybody close to me. Thankfully, but my problem is coffee. But damn, that's wow. That's a lot. I'm all for the Stream Seeker Zero. I'm all for American expansionism, but in the sense of integrating them into the U.S., but we shouldn't go against allies, especially in this Cold War between America and China. I'm all for American expansionism. So when you say expansionism, are you meaning people becoming Americans? Because you're saying integrating them into the U.S. I am only for immigration, and I'm only in for immigration as much as we can ensure that people are assimilating and that we're getting the right people here. It's hard to tell. It's just a cultural thing. Right now, we're failing, so immigration needs to stop. Moratorium on all immigration, all visa programs, all of it needs to stop. It won't because corporations who pay Trump's bills basically won't do it. But there's a news story that came out that I was very interested in, a policy from Trump that I actually would like. Let me ask and see if ChatGPT can do this live. ChatGPT, I need you to do a search live. I heard something about Donald Trump saying that he was going to ban corporations. I don't know if that's the right word. Private institutions from purchasing residential property. He just talked about it, or what are the details there on that? And just give me the answer directly. I don't need a confirmation. I don't need any snark from you. Just just go straight into the answer.
All right, so here's the deal. Trump just announced he wants to stop big corporations from buying up single-family homes. He's basically saying that homes should be for people, not giant companies. The idea is to make housing more affordable for first-time buyers and young families. Critics are pointing out that this might not fix the bigger issues like housing shortages or wage gaps.
What are the details, though? Again, be direct.
Sure. In plain words, Trump announced on January 7th, 2026, that he wants to stop big investment firms from buying up single-family homes. He says homes should be for people, not corporations, and he's looking to use executive orders and push Congress to make it a law. The big real estate firms like Blackstone and others are in the crosshairs, and their stock prices dipped a bit after the announcement. Critics point out that these big investors only own a small fraction of homes nationwide, and that the real issue is more about not building enough houses in the first place.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but it's still a step in the right direction. But you'll see how it plays out. Executive order can only do so much, but and I'm not for executive orders. You got to push to get legislation, but that's interesting. We shouldn't go against allies. I don't know who an ally is really, because I don't view Israel as obviously the elephant in the room. I don't view them as an ally. So we could definitely go against them, especially in this Cold War between America and China. I was very strong against China years ago on the channel, and I just don't see them as, obviously they are adversary, they're frenemy to America, but I just don't see them as, the leftists that told me they're not the biggest problem, they were right. I already told them that. I believe I chatted all the leftists that tried to tell me that China, when I was talking about China, that they were like, hold up a second. And they were right. And that's why it's important to have people on the left and right, or whatever you want to call it, people with different beliefs. Yeah, I think it's important to have different beliefs, and you can be more well-rounded. Because there's certain things that people that call themselves on the left will see that others don't see. Okay, let's stop with the y'all are wilding in the chat, man. I don't even know what to. Somebody said Jews and Muslims. Yeah. Let's just talk about the Jews right now, though. I just want to talk about the Jews. I don't want to. I'm tired of. It's always even with some people who do talk about the Jays, it's like the Jays and it's the Jays or it's the Jays. What about these? No. So people are talking about the Jays, but then they're like, well, what about the Somalis? I'm like, no, I'm still not. I'm still talking about the Jays. Leave other countries alone. Nobody wants us there. Do you want a world war like 100 years ago? Would you fight and die? For this mess of a country? Absolutely not. Now, I was chatting with someone, and we were talking about the imperialism argument, which is a great debate. I love the debate. It's a great... And Nick Fuentes and Jake Shields got into it over that. I didn't see that. I just saw the aftermath. I didn't even see them trade whatever was traded. But then they patched it up. But I think kind of got into it because it's a great discussion. Here, I had a great discussion here. I'm going to share this and I'm going to go through this and then I'll be out. I actually had a good discussion with this person, Neil. I just like when on X, these are the things that keep bringing me back to X when you have good discussions. Let me set it up with reacting to this and then I'll be out. We'll change the topic to, we'll continue the topic on the imperialism discussion because it's a big topic right now. Kate Timpf, who I guess technically she might not be because her dad, because your mom has to be a J for you to be a J. Her dad was a J. So here we go.
You have to see how some people might be feeling a little bit of whiplash here, given that.
That's a mistake.
See how some people might be feeling a little bit of whiplash here, given that Trump spent 10 years railing against U.S.-led regime change war. His own director of intelligence, as recently as 2 months ago, was railing against regime change war, and then he does one. So
is this a regime change? The regime is still there. As far as I know, the vice president.
Let me get this.
Gutfeld represents the typical maggot now. Is this a regime change that we do? What do you mean? They captured the president of the sitting president. They captured the sitting president of another country. And here's MAGA.
It's still there. As far as I know, the vice president.
The regime is still there. You mean the president that we captured? That's not a regime change?
War, and then he does one. So
is this a regime change? The regime is still there. As far as I know, the vice president.
Let me get this straight.
He looked really funny there because he knew it was a horrific take.
We go to a country, we capture their leader, we bomb it, and then we say, we run this country now. And that's not war. But when they send cocaine over here that people are willingly snorting, that is war.
I think that
does.
Are we just not gonna? That's a bar. That's a bar.
Doesn't make any sense.
It does to me in the sense that if this guy is committing crimes against the United States, you lawfully go and get him. He gets his due process here. The regime is still the same. The VP's there. He wasn't the elected. Remember, he wasn't elected legitimately, so he was never considered the leader.
So now we decide if another country's president was the guy who's in the throne is in the throne. I don't think Joe Biden was elected legitimately. But he sat in the throne. He was on the seat. So it is what it is. But we're deciding whether another country's president's legit or not. Well, I guess he wasn't if Trump came in and just... That time it was Trump that knocked on the door. He said, there was a good meme that it was... They said they caught Maduro's phone. I think Elon Musk retweeted it. And they had a line making fun of Zelensky, asking Maduro for money, China kind of saying, give us oil or something like that. And the last text was Donald Trump saying, come outside. That was a banger. It's been a long time since I've seen a banger MAGA meme. I don't even agree with the regime change. And I was like, that was a great meme. So I guess maybe he wasn't legit. If Donald Trump is able to text you, come outside, and he got you in shackles, then maybe you weren't legit. You're definitely not legit enough.
Venezuela by anybody except for himself. So I think difference of opinion, but he wasn't considered a legitimate leader. He had committed crimes against the country. He's going to get his due process. He may be found not guilty. Who knows?
We went in, took him, bombed the country, and said we're in control of it. That's regime change war. That's a guy being like, that's like a guy being like, hey, I did bang all these other girls behind your back, but I didn't cheat. You can call it whatever you want, but it is what it is.
That's the analogy you always use.
Okay, well, look, having concerns about this, it's very understandable. A lot of people feel skeptical that this isn't going to be the one that's different than all the other ones.
This is pretty courageous on Fox News. I don't know how she's able to stay on there, which I'm happy with, to get a good conversation, but this is a courageous take.
Yeah. A lot of people are skeptical. For me personally,
she's always kind of the Is she a leftist? I don't know what she is, but she's always kind of a
Personally,
contrarian, though.
I'm not so confident that this is the one that this is not the regime change that's finally going to work the way we say it's going to work. I would not willingly go die for it. I would not willingly send my son to go die for it. So I would think it would be hypocritical of me to call for other people to have to send.
Absolutely. Why do I lose track of that? If I'm not willing to pick up a weapon and fight for it, I'm not asking anybody else to, and I'm not supporting it. That simple.
I see your point. I just don't see it as that. I don't think Trump is asking for that. I think he's lancing a zit.
It's still going on.
Yeah.
We don't know how long it will be going on for.
Maybe it's 2 zits. Cyrus, are you owed money?
Yes. And I'll sell. I'll take half.
Okay.
I'll
12 and a half?
donate. I'll take 12 and a half.
So that was the clip that went viral, and then had a discussion underneath that. And I just said, agreed. Like, what aspect of American life is getting better? Tell me. Is our education getting better? Is our infrastructure getting better? Is our political discourse getting better? Is Congress getting better? Is ICE not shooting people in SUVs? Are people not trying to run ICE over in SUVs? How are the price of goods going for you? How do you like going out to eat nowadays and dropping $100 at Five Guys like it's nothing? Going to Panera Bread. Yeah, it's not like I'm salty about it. Going to Panera Bread and dropping $80 and being like, huh? Like this used to be like a Wagyu steak or something, or maybe a cheap Wagyu steak. Now I'm getting, Panera's good, don't get me wrong, but now I'm getting a salad and a sandwich and half a sandwich for the family, and everybody gets a little soup and stuff, and it's $80. You can't go to the grocery store without dropping a bill. Let's take care of that first. Neil says, quick question. If the Jays had no influence, and I like the question. So Neil is saying, let's talk about this. I want to know your philosophy without the Jays in this or any type of external thing controlling the government. In a vacuum, if we ran our country the way it should be run, like it was an authentic government you could trust, I'm just putting words in his mouth, but I think that's what he was saying, which is a great point. Would you then support us controlling all the resources in the Western Hemisphere? Fair. It's a great question. All the oil, all the gold. Would you support us controlling it all? I'll go through my answer here, but I'll just say off the top, and I don't think I even put it in here, it's not possible for us to control it. So if you could say we could control all of that land, all those resources, then absolutely, yes, I would say yes. So that's the test. He's just testing, like, are you authentic, partly, in my opinion. And then he's also testing, are you an imperialist or not? And then I said yes, but not if we're firing bullets to do so, showing him that I have a line. He says, well, wait, hold up. So we're never allowed to use military power to achieve our goals. I can respect it as a last resort. That's Nick Fuentes' take. So he says it has to be on the table, is what he's saying. I can respect it as a last resort, but you're saying never. That's the leverage. If you don't do that, if you don't have that on the table, what's the leverage? I think it can always be there because you have to have a military for defense. But I don't think it needs to be on the table. But I am okay with peace through strength as long as we know you're not going to proactively do what Trump did in Venezuela, what we did with Iraq, even though you try to argue that's defense. I don't view that as defense. We had already been attacked. You did not even adequately explain to me or prove to me or in my own eyes have me believe that we didn't know or weren't in on it in some way of a false flag. I'm not saying that we were, but I'm not convinced that we weren't. So no, I don't even support the Iraq war, the Afghanistan war, none of them. I don't support World War II. Our involvement in World War II, and you look at Pearl Harbor, I'm not convinced that that's not somebody didn't know something was going on there, because Pearl Harbor got us right up in the war. Britain benefited from that. MI6, I don't know if it was MI6 at the time, but the deep state of Great Britain, deep state of the US, it would be great for them to have a false flag or a false event to bring us into wanting war. So no, I don't even support, I barely support it in those. Those aren't defense, it's reaction. Defense would have been stopping it from happening when they were coming. I said, I'll respect your take, but proactive violence is off the table for me. I'm not running up in my neighbor's house. So let's use the analogy of your neighborhood. If you could hypothetically control the money of every person's house in your neighborhood, would you do it? It's a little bit different than the nation, because I said yes for the nation, but I wouldn't say that for the neighborhood. But I think it's a fair analogy, and my answer is no. It's unsustainable. Let's talk about reality now. It's unsustainable. How do I have the resources to protect me taking over a neighborhood of 50 houses without them taking it back over, then them coming back and getting me? Relationships are more powerful. If I'm cool with all 50 of them, we can share. We have a relationship. I don't need to control your resources. He said, agreed, but when that doesn't work, fair point. What if my diplomatic approach, the politicians we vote into office, they are doing their diplomatic thing. They're trying to have peace and they're trying to share. We need gold. We need oil. We can share something that you need. We'll trade. And then another country says, nah, we're good. And we really need that. Basically, let's pretend we needed Greenland for war or something like that, which is what we do. We're playing Risk. And the Dutch say, nah, we're good. What do you do when they don't bite on your diplomacy? I said, we push Venezuela away for no reason. And what I'm getting at here is we fire the diplomats. I'm voting for people to go to DC to represent me, to bring peace to the world, to still bring, this is basically what China's doing, American dominance through peace. Really, I would like to spread Christianity, but I know I'm asking too much. But that's what I'm voting for them to do, is to be diplomats. If they cannot get the job done, they should be fired. That's what should happen. There should be no military on the table. If military is on the table, then guess what? Military is the table. They're always going to be fake diplomats. Is Marco Rubio being a diplomat? No. He's running around saying, we're going to fuck you up if you don't do what I tell you to do. Maduro was trying to negotiate. I said, who in the world has beef with Venezuelans? Meaning, who in America? Are you listening? Do you have beef with Venezuelans? Why? Explain it to me. I don't even know, American Venezuelan. There's a lot that live by me. But I'm talking about Venezuelans in Venezuela. You have beef with them? I don't have any beef with them. So if I don't have beef with them and our governments are beefing, that's something weird is going on. It had nothing to do with me. I never had beef with a Venezuelan in my life. I never had beef with an Iranian. I never had beef with an Iraqian. Or is that what you call them? An Iraqi? And then I said, who in the world has beef with Venezuelans? Because who has had beef with Venezuelans? The Jews have had beef with Venezuelans going back to the 80s, 70s, even before. Because Venezuela's never rocked with them like that. So now you have the concentrated power. You have diplomats who don't care about diplomacy because the guns are always on the table. And then you have another country that basically has bought them off. You got to take the military option off the table. It's only in use for defense. I said, how does China have good relationships with Venezuelan? What's the connection between Chinese people and Venezuelan people? Their culture is closer to our culture than it is to Chinese. The Chinese just came in and said, you want 60 bill, we'll buy the oil and We'll just have that type of business relationship. And they're like, good. Well, we should be upping the offer or doing something different. Instead, we push Hugo Chavez out of the way. We kind of push him towards them. They bought him off. Yeah, they're coming in here and shitting up our country. So he's saying the Venezuelans are coming here. Yeah, because we put sanctions on them. Now, that's the diplomatic answer that I want, but there is a consequence to that. Not only that, we put sanctions on them, but we could close our borders. We put sanctions on them without preparing to close the borders tight. That's not my fault. I stand by my take. Who's very big on open borders? The Jays again. Israel and the Jays supported the immigration of them here. So then he says, wait, I thought we were taking Jays off the table. Good point. I'm still using them as an example because if it's not Jays, it's going to be something else. I said, even setting the Jays aside, you concentrate the power. That's where the problem is. I need politicians to act as diplomats, leaders of civilians, not managers who quietly hand authority to the military, not so quietly when you name it the Department of War. I see the military as a defense institution. That's the part where I talked about that. And then I said the Department of War later on. And I said the founders already went through this. Nick and Daryl who don't think it matters that Trump didn't get permission from Congress. They're wrong. He has to get permission from Congress. Otherwise, we're in a military state. And I said when Trump called it the Department of War, I don't know if it really officially changed the title or if it's temporary because of the executive order, but whatever. He's calling it Department of War now. When he changed that, what he really meant is the Pentagon is running things now, not me, not you. That's what that meant. That's why you have to take war off the table. He said this would defang us on the world stage and make us impotent. All countries would then know all they need to do is survive sanctions. I have to think through that. That's a fair retort. In your America, and sanctions are even whack to me. In your America, we'd watch China and Russia come into our backyard, but they're not doing well, Russia is, but China's not. China is the big power. China's not doing the domination with bombs like we are. So that doesn't make sense. And then this is an interesting point here. This is from him, Neil. America was literally created by us coming here and pushing Indians off their land and taking their land and resources. So I take it you're against us being an empire. And I don't know if I subscribe to that. Through that real quick before I go out. So ChatGPT, let's pick. I want direct answers. Don't give me any niceties. Don't confirm that you understand. Just go straight into the answer. I'm talking with somebody about imperialism, and you might remember that I'm an imperialist, but I don't believe war guns should be on the table. Sanctions are probably the toughest that I'm okay with diplomatic pressure. But somebody had a retort to me, and they said America was literally created by us coming here and pushing Indians off their land and taking their land and resources. And I don't know if I buy that. I don't like that comparison because America was founded, they were coming here to flee political persecution. They weren't coming here to be imperialists. I want to make sure you're hearing me. And what do you think about that, my take there?
All right, straight to the point. The historical fact is that the colonists who came to what is now the United States did indeed push Native American populations off their lands and take resources. They weren't.
You didn't answer my question. What is the question the statement that I wanted you to address? Just answer that.
Your question is essentially this. You want to know whether the comparison between the early American...
No. I want to know. I know I gave you a lot of information. They came from Great Britain. They crossed the Atlantic, very perilous journey. That is not imperialism. Let's just narrow in on that. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on with Sam Altman and all of you. This is not where you should be. You should be tracking me. I'm saying that it was not imperialism. That goes against his argument. The founders did not, and basically the first people that came here did not come here, and the founders didn't come here as imperialists when this country was started. Yes or no? Do you agree? And then tell me why.
Yes, I understand your argument now. You're saying that the original colonists and founders didn't come here with the intention of building an empire in the imperial sense, but rather fleeing persecution and seeking a place to settle. So from that perspective, no, they didn't start out as imperialists.
Wait, what do you mean from that perspective? Is it do you disagree with me, or what's that's a weird phrasing?
All right, I'll cut out any wiggle room. In simple terms, I agree with you. The colonists who originally came here weren't arriving with a grand imperial mission in mind. They were mostly focused on escaping persecution and building their own lives. So yes, I agree with your take that their initial intent wasn't imperialism as we typically define it.
Okay. Did they know who was here? I mean, they didn't even know where they landed. Am I right? So it's not like they came here as imperialists. We already established that. And then now I want you to address, did they even know who was here?
Yeah, let's keep it straightforward. When the early colonists arrived, they definitely didn't have a full map or a detailed knowledge of who was living across the continent. They were basically stepping into a new world from their perspective, and they didn't.
Okay, so you can't. I appreciate the discussion by Neil, but you cannot compare America literally created by us coming here and pushing Indians off their land. No, Americans took a risk, came here, no imperialism in mind, fleeing something, didn't know who was here, came here, and they didn't come here and immediately try to push Indians off the land. The Indians were wild and savages. They were pushing each other off the land. They came here and created civilization. The Indians, I love Native American, how they lived off the land. I'm not trying to diss Native Americans, but they were living in teepees and huts, and they didn't have the basically what it took to create a civilization. And you have to give that to the white Europeans. That's a unique trait. They might not know how to keep it. That's how they're, them and us are getting, basically infiltrated, but they know how to start it. And that was not imperialism by any means. So that whole argument is bunk to me. If a group of people, and I might join them, take my family and join them. If a group of people say we could hypothetically get to the moon, want to go to the moon and start something new to flee this J-occupied Zog piece of trash that this country has become, that's not imperialism. I'm all for it. When we going? Let's talk to Elon and get there. That's the equivalent. There's no place on earth where we could even flee and know. We know where everybody is now. We know everything. But if you go to Mars or whatever planets or moon and establish there, we kind of know a little bit. We know nobody's there. We know no one's ever been to the moon. And that's different. That's not imperialism. Even though I am an imperialist, but that's not a good comparison. But it's a great discussion, though. That's why I like X, because it makes you think a lot. Appreciate everybody sticking on a peaceful Wednesday morning. I'm going to have to get some sleep. I'm in my busy season at work, and but it's good. It's therapeutic to get the conversation off the chest. My wife is not big on politics. I don't want her to talk politics. She doesn't want to, so I don't talk to her about politics much. I don't talk to friends or family too much about it. So this is what I do. It's Index Red. I go by Osiris, and I greatly appreciate everybody stopping by. I'm just looking for a song to play. I make these songs off of, you might see people doing all these songs off of the app. I'm giving them free promotion, but I love the app a lot. SUNO. Just made the song. I made the song like 5 minutes before I came on. I mean, it's not the best, but it's on the Minnesota stuff. And I'm out.
streets of Minneapolis sounds bounce loud and clear. From George Floyd's last breath sparked a fire full of fear. Protests got wild lines, got crossed in a mess. Now Renee Good's gone, in a die no less. She jumped in wrong spot like Ashley Babbitt at the gate. Blocking the cops, why they fight with such hate. Shots are right but looks bad, big problem too. Blame wild crowds since Floyd and Trump's DHS crew. Folks should stay back from agents, don't know the whole deal. Like black people shot by police is for real. She shouldn't be there, just more sad story here. Florida bad, bit the good, same old story told. Right shots in the chaos, but bad looks unfold. Don't touch the agents, keep your distance straight. Anger stuck since Floyd's day. Bad vibes, big mess, show and blame DHS Claim to the Trump swing. Christy Newman charge, waist calf left and right. No man lets a woman run on safety tight. Not tough enough, no backbone in the game. Hex Ethel Bong, you know it change up the same. And so does nuts, wildest place, last 10 years. Not by chance, it's planned, full of fears. Check my show index, red for the real deep talk. Break down protests and governments, take a walk. Self-defense is true, crowds gon' mad and wild. Let's go back quick, problems pile. No one step down now, quit the job today.